Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be waiting for just a couple more seconds before we kick off this evening's programming. But as we do that, thank you so much for all of you who are joining us right on time. And a very good morning to our guests joining us all the way from New Jersey for this evening's programming. We're so excited to bring in, very diverse perspectives as we always try to do and answer some of your questions as you think about, perhaps thinking about going for your master's in the United States. But before we get into this evening's programming, who am I? What are we doing here? What is the agenda for this evening? My name's Priyanka. I look after communications here at GradRight. In case you're wondering exactly what GradRight is, how can we help you as you consider thinking about, applying for a master's abroad as an Indian student? Well, we've got two fantastic products that can help you do just that. If you're still in sort of the shortlisting phase, thinking about, which kinds of programs might be better suited for you. Should you really go for an MBA, a full-time MBA, a 2-year program? Within an MBA, should you look for a particular general MBA? Should you look for a very specialized MBA? Or if you're thinking, wait, should I even invest that much time and money in a business school? Should I go for a more mini MBA kind of a program? If you've got questions like that, we've got answers for you. One, through this evening's program. Two, in case you're looking out for the kind of master's programs that might be right for you, check out our product SelectRight. It's completely free for students to use. You can go in, set up a profile completely for free. Tell us what it is that you're looking for your professional and personal goals. Based on that, we'll give you an AI-generated shortlist of programs. And two of the programs that might just make it to your shortlist are programs that we're talking about this evening. We're talking about NJIT's Tech MBA. It's a brand new, very exciting program. If you're thinking about combining two very in-demand skills for employers, especially in the United States, it might be a program worth considering for you. The other program we're talking about is a mini MBA, or a Master's of Science in Management. We're going to be hearing from an academic director, from an admissions, from an official from the university, as well as a student from India who has just arrived at NJIT in the past month and has chosen to do an MSM, or a Master's of Science in Management. How do they make that decision? What kind of program should you choose if you're thinking about it? We're going to be answering all of those questions. I'm going to get my wonderful panel from New Jersey to introduce themselves. And first, of course, we've got to go ahead with Ritchie. Good morning, Ritchie. How's it going?
Thank you. It's going good. How about you?
Wonderful. We're so excited to hear from you. We get all these questions from students, on our socials, on programming like this. So sort of, how do I decide what master's is the right program for me? How do I decide which school is, worth going to? There's so many options available, especially in the United States. There's so many different kinds of programs. And I think especially now, there's almost sort of one trendy program after the other that's launched, especially at business schools. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about how you made that decision. But before we do that, could you tell us a little bit about sort of your background and what you're studying at NJIT?
So, hi guys, my name is Ritchie and I'm from South India. So I did my undergraduate in computer science engineering, and I worked on my own startups in education and media sector for 4 or 5 years. And then I always had of doing a management degree because I was already involved in technology in my undergraduation. So, but I was not sure about US basically. I was inclined towards UK, and I was thinking about maybe I'll not get an admit in US and it's expensive, and I didn't had any solid concrete guidance. So one day, actually, I saw one Facebook advertisement from GradRight. So which actually showed me 100% application waiver, which got me into this. And then I just tried randomly, and that was in June. And it was asking me GMAT. And I actually uploaded everything, every document which the GradRight asked. And the NJIT asked. And I applied GradRight coupon as well. So I got the 100% application waiver. And then I was asked my GMAT score, which I didn't write then, and GRE also. So, but I just left. I just closed the tab, and it was done. It was in June. And then I was again trying for UK, and I got an admit in Cardiff University, MBA in AI. But I almost got an admit as well. but still I never had peace to go to UK. I mean, nothing else. I like UK, but I never had peace. Like it didn't touch me personally. So I was just like shuffling. And then one fine day, my mom was like little uh, pestering me, and she's saying like, "Why don't you go and study? Go in a nice any college. Go to America and study." And then in August, that was way too long. In the middle, one of your employee has followed up. She has called me and asked me about my. She did a good follow up actually, and she mentioned hustle. And then that's where I reconnected to hustle and asked him if I can still try, because when see usually every person you meet, your friends or anything, so they can tell you their own what they have in their mind. That doesn't mean that it's true, that you can't just validate just by any random suggestion. So many of the people were telling me that it's hard to try in the last minute, but still I requested Hasil to get me if there's any chance, because I didn't write GMAT or GRE, nothing. I just wrote IELTS. And then Hasil said, "Let me try, Ritchie, and send me your profile." And yes, I just wrote 4 5 points, and I'm just waiting, calling the NJIT toll free every time and asking them, and they're saying it's still in review. It's just like 2 3 days. Suddenly one midnight, I randomly opened my Gmail to check some other thing, to check Cardiff University, to be frank. And then I got this admit NJIT as congratulations, Ritchie, and you are approved for an MSM program. So why I chose MSM is I wanted to have a blend of both technology and management. I just don't want to remain to learn like a basic core subjects. So and then immediately I had a friend who studied in US and came back to India. So he was sitting beside me at 2:30 a.m. in midnight, and immediately the next day I paid $500, and then I waited. There was holidays in India, so there was Independence Day, and then the next day uh, I uploaded my financials for. I paid my $500, and then I paid it and uploaded my financial documents. The surprising part is, uh, morning I have uploaded it. So, and by evening I got my I-20. That was damn quick, just like 78 hours. And then from I-20, the next day I paid my visa fees. And then many of my friends are like outside who are already in US. They are saying like you'll not get slots and anything. But still I was in touch with Hasil, and I was explaining everything, and he also motivated me to go for it. And then I got my I paid my visa fees, and the next day morning I missed one slot because of the delay. The Delhi slot was gone, and my friend was saying, "Sorry, there's no slots." I felt very disappointed, and I refreshed it. In 5 minutes, I got a slot in Mumbai. That was in 22nd August, and 25th was my visa, and visa went well. And then I booked my ticket right there and on September 2nd, and I was here in America on September 3rd. So that's my short, quick story. I mean, like I'm trying to explain it detailedly, but it was very quick, lightning speed. And then on the third, after coming, I think there was a holiday, and then I came for the first event. There was a event called Pancakes with the President, and then I went to the campus, and that's how I met Mr. Benjamin. He's a director, and the fact is like he actually came near the reception and he received me. So I was really moved by the gesture, small gesture, and the entire team. So we had a good chat, and then the thing I liked with the department is it is very communicative. Like you can go there and you can talk whatever you want, like in terms of any help. And then I met a lot of Indian students, and then some American undergrads as well. So it was nice. And the very first week, they have taken us to a industrial trip to a startup accelerator. It's called the Hacks Company. It's a global company which will invest 250K US dollars if they like your idea. So that was a good start, and everything went well. And I also got an on-campus job. So it's a good story, and I'm very thankful for GradRight and MTSM.
Amazing. Wow. What an exciting story. I think there's so much to unpack. There's so much for, us to hear and learn more about your experience applying, your experience, once you landed in the US, what that was like, what it's been like, in the last sort of couple of weeks since you've been on campus attending classes, and that choice also, you were an entrepreneur, you had successful startups, and then you decided to go back to business school. So, we want to understand your motivations. We want to understand why NJIT. We're going to talk a little bit more about that over the course of the next hour. As always, a quick reminder that the Q&A box is open. Feel free to drop in your questions. I can see a couple that are coming in already. The whole idea of this hour is to get all of your questions answered, whether you're thinking about an MBA versus an MSM, whether you're thinking about applying to Tuchman, what is it that can help you stand out as a candidate, whether or not you should even apply to business school in this economy, as they say. But who's going to answer those questions? Dr. Ben, it's over to you. We'd love to hear a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Tuchman and this fantastic story that Ritchie has just shared with us about his journey from India to the United States.
So if I might, if you allow me, I'd like to ask my colleague, Dr. Chmishanova, to introduce herself, because, when Ritchie was describing his amazing journey, one of the primary gatekeeper at NJIT who allows and invites our students in, Dr. Chmishanova. And she will talk a little bit about what her office does. She's executive director of the Office of Global Initiatives. But I wanted her to give her a chance to introduce herself. She can, and then as your flow goes, she'll come back and take some questions and answers, and then I'll jump in.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Marietta Chmishanova. I'm the executive director for the Office of Global Initiatives at NJIT. And what our office does is helps all new international students obtain an I-20. We guide students through the I-20 request process, application process, as well as provide visa information, paying the CVIS fee, guiding through the onboarding. We also host the mandatory international student orientation and help students with transitioning from their home countries to life in the US. We have advisors who support students throughout their time at NJIT, and we also help them with internship applications, OPT applications, post-graduation throughout their time with us.
Thank you, Marietta. As you might guess, Marietta and I are also former international students, so we can relate to and understand this journey for students. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for this wonderful introduction. It's a thrill to be with you again. My name is Dr. Ben Menyindo. I'm the director of the graduate programs here in the Tuchman School of Management at NJIT. I'm grateful that you're able to join us this late in the day. It's 10:13 over here in New York, in New Jersey, but I know it's later in the evening there, so thank you for joining us. I'd like to just start off by saying the Martin Tuchman School of Management is a very unique school of business in the sense that we are tucked away in the middle of a polytechnic. So all around us are engineers, architects, computer science programs, and then here we are as a business school. What stands out immediately is that we are a technology-focused business school. So in fact, when you hear, I'll talk a little bit about our MSM and MBA programs, they're both technology, they've got a technology focus that is quite different from what you'll see in different curricula, even within the region where we are here. Of course, what helps as well is that it doesn't hurt that we are in the location where we are. We're right close to New York City, in the hub where technology, all kinds of things go on. Pharmaceutical companies are all over the place here. There's vast amounts of opportunities. And of course, it doesn't hurt that a lot of the students who are coming from India probably have some relation or some connection to NJIT already. So you wouldn't be coming out here to be trying to figure out how to land and how to survive like I did when I went to school in Ohio. But that's just the beginning. So the School of Management offers a variety of programs. We've got, and I'll talk about it, I've got a presentation that I want to go through really quickly that will explain our programs, and then I'll leave some space for questions, because I think usually you want to hear more about specific questions than just a lecture about what we do here. And I think, so if you give me 2 seconds, I'm going to share my screen, and then we'll take it from there.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, as you pull up the presentation, just a reminder, I know there's a lot of questions that are already come in. And thank you, Dr. Marietta and Hassel for sort of taking some of those. We're going to try and take as many of them, as we can. So I would encourage everyone to sort of drop those questions for Ritchie. If you have any questions around sort of the application process to business school, questions around, what life is like in the US, what kinds of jobs you can expect after, after doing an MBA at a tech-focused school. It's just exactly what Dr. Ben was referring to right now. Please feel free to drop all of those questions in the Q&A box. We're going to take as many, and if not all, over the course of the next hour. But Dr. Ben, it's over to you.
Thank you. Let's see if I can get. All right, so I'll really go quickly about the Martin Tuchman School of Management. For those of you who don't know, one of the most revered accreditation that you can get in business schools is the AACSB. It is the highest accreditation that a business school can get in the world, and only 5% of business schools in the world have actually been able to get that accreditation. So we're very proud of that, because it speaks to the quality and the caliber of programs we provide. It's also our R1 research university. So for those of you who are involved in research, you'll understand why that is very important. The R1 designation means that we are in the university that's involved in the highest level of research activity. So the universities in the United States, really, for those that are involved in research, aspire to be involved, to be categorized as R1 research universities. The School of Management, as I mentioned earlier on, offers technology-focused graduate programs. You're not going to find a generic MBA or MSM here. Our management programs have a very different spin, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'll share the curriculum with you so you can see what it looks like. So we have a 30 credits STEM designated MS Management. We have a 36 credits STEM designated Tech MBA, which is just a recently revised program, a version of our 48 credit program. And then we also have a STEM designated PhD program in business data science. And along with that, we have 12 credit certificate programs. So students who don't want to pursue a full degree, may come through one of the certificate programs, including what we call the mini MBA. And of course, we offer a variety of different trainings that are not necessarily related to our curriculum. You can see Salesforce, Trailhead, Bloomberg Markets Concepts, and this is just a short list of what students have access to when they come through Martin Tuchman School of Management. One of the things we take a great deal of pride in is we don't just want to grant a degree. We want our students to be prepared when they leave here, that the employers who recruit them are finding not just as a person who's got an impressive degree from good grades from NJIT, but they actually are technology-savvy business people. And that's sort of the reputation that we've had with our students who are coming out of Tuchman School of Management. I know, rankings are a big deal, particularly for our international students, because they want to get a sense of what schools you're going to and what is that school known for. So we're really excited about some of the rankings we have here, and this is just some of them. We don't have all of them up on this slide here, but most recently we were ranked number 19 nationally by Wall Street Journal for best colleges in America, and that's including all universities. And then we're number 2 in the public universities, because not all the universities are public institutions. So we're number 2 only after the University of Florida. We're ranked number 1 nationally for student upward economic mobility, which means students who come through here and get their degree advance upwardly economically much faster than students elsewhere. And then one of our programs here in the Tuchman School of Management is entrepreneurship, and we're ranked number 30 in the country. And when you say 30 in a country, when you consider that there are close to 5,000 institutions, that's a huge accomplishment that we take a great deal of pride in. Some of the reasons why students would want to pursue a master's degree here. Of course, one of the most basic ones, of course, you would accelerate your career. Most people that will be looking to come here for graduate school are probably either working or just recently graduated, but they're thinking forward. What do I need to do? How do I move myself into the next stage of my development? Taking advantage of resources here. And one thing that's very important is that because we're in a technology school, business students here have access to amazing resources. And in fact, you'll see, as I show you shortly, some of the courses we even offer in our MSM are courses that are offered in the engineering school or the computing school. So the conversion of technology and business is woven throughout the fabric in School of Management here. You want to acquire new skills, technologies, and methods that have been developed in the field of business. We've got faculty here who are known for their work and their research, and we've got amazing students who are coming in from India, from other parts of the world, who bring their technical skill. And when you see how that blends in with what they do in business, we're very proud of the caliber of students we have coming through here. Expanding their knowledge of fields related to current and areas of professional specialization, and then to improve their relative standing. We've been hearing a lot of students talking about, what do we do about careers? I get the calls from students who are saying, what do I do? How do I know that I'll land a career that is promising in the United States when I come here? We're hearing all kinds of stories about the economy, hearing all kinds of stories about the recession. The job market is not looking so strong. I'll tell you this, that one of the things that we've seen consistently is that companies will not stop recruiting. The economy might take a slump, but the need for students who are bringing business skills along with the technology is always going to be present. And we see that the recruiting continues in spite of what looks like a challenging job market. And then being able to communicate practical implications of business and management across various fields. We find that our students sometimes are very well prepared from their degrees back home. But what we've tried to do here is we help them polish off those skills. So when you leave here, you're prepared for making an impressive landing when you start at your new place of employment. I talked a little bit about the programs here. We've got the two master's degree programs, and we've got the graduate certificate programs and a PhD. The PhD in business data science was actually the first of its kind in the United States. I think there's a couple more that have now emerged. So I'll talk a little bit about the MSM curriculum. It's a STEM designated program. So for those of you that don't know what STEM designated means, the programs that have STEM designation mean that, and Dr. Chimishanova will actually be much better at explaining what the implications of this are for those who've got questions. If you're pursuing a regular graduate program in the United States, you have the opportunity to pursue what they call OPT, which is a 12-month period during which you can work in the United States, gain some professional experience. And once that expires, if the employer wants to keep you, they'll figure out how to petition for you to get an H-1 visa. And if that doesn't happen, you get to return back to your home country or perhaps pursue another degree. The STEM designation allows students an additional 24-month extension, which they'll have to apply for when they've completed the 12 months. But it basically grants students 3 years post-graduation of an opportunity to work in the United States. So that's really a popular feature for students who are coming from outside of the country, because that's an opportunity to test out your skills and perhaps seek opportunities for employment. Our program has 3 concentrations, and you can see the concentrations that we have in the MSM are very different from what we have in the MBA, and I'll talk about that briefly. All these courses, the concentrations of financial technology, which is a huge and emerging discipline in the United States and globally, business analytics, which I think is probably one of our most popular programs. I think Ritchie may be a business analytics concentration. He'll confirm that for me at some point. And then, of course, the global project management. If I may, let me see if I can do this. I'm not sure if this will allow me to do this. I'd have to stop sharing and share the screen again. I want to look at the curriculum.
Maybe as you pull that up, Ritchie, just a quick question. Have you thought about a concentration for your master's in management already?
Actually, I was thinking for project management in the starting, but later I was inclined towards business analytics because it was more techy, and I like I see a future in that. Because project management is also an important thing.
Yeah.
But in business analytics were a little closer to my domain actually.
Got it.
So I chose.
Makes sense. Thanks for sharing. Back to you, Dr. Ben.
Sure. So one of the things that you'll discover is that, and you'll see it when I show you the MBA, both degrees have core courses that are almost identical. So you'll see the same courses as in the core as you'll see in the MBA as you will see in the MSM. There might be one or two differences, but mostly it's the same core business courses that you might expect in a graduate business program. So students pursuing the 30 credit program. By the way, we've got students who finished this program in 2 semesters. They've taken 15 credits in one semester and taken another 15 credits in the next semester. Most students don't do that, but that's a pretty heavy load. That's taking 5 classes and 5 classes. That's a pretty heavy load to be taking to complete the program, but some students have been able to do so. But most people will do 3 classes. You're required, if you're an international student, to be taking at least 9 credits per semester, and so you have to take 3 classes. Although some students have selected to take more than 3 classes. So essentially, what it is, the top of this screen here are the core courses, and these are general core courses you might expect out of business school: management, accounting, corporate finance, organizational behavior, information systems, and then the global markets course. When we get into the concentration areas, that's when you start to see the courses now taking a different direction. You can see it's a business school, but we're offering programs that are offered even in engineering school. Cost estimating for capital projects, project control, engineering cost and production economics, supply chain engineering. So our students, if they choose the global project management concentration, are only required to take 5 courses out of that. They don't have to take all those classes there. They can just choose 5 of their choices out of those courses. The business analytics has much more of a business centered focus, but you'll see that the courses also have a very, very different spin, not traditional business classes you'll see. Data mining and analysis. We've got a course that's very popular, knowledge management. Students pursue that in both programs. Introduction to big data, which is actually offered by the computing school. You can see this. It's a business degree, but has a very technology focused emphasis. The fintech concentration. Again, this is one of those that is an emerging field and growing rapidly. NJIT actually offered the first fintech undergraduate program in the state of New Jersey. So we have now a concentration in our graduate program. And again, you can see these are not traditional finance courses. You'll actually see the finance courses when we look at the MBA curriculum. These are very different because these focus on specifically the fintech field. While I'm still here, because I think this is probably a good time to do that, and then we'll jump on to back to the presentation, I'll quickly switch to the Tech MBA program. So the Tech MBA program is 36 credits. And we call it Tech MBA because it's not a traditional MBA. If you look at the way the program is designed. As you might notice, the same courses, right? Management, accounting, corporate finance. What we didn't have in the HRM and the MSM is the organizational behavior course, but we've got information systems. And then there's a course called decision analysis with quantitative modeling. Again, these are not traditional business courses. These are quite unique in the sense that they are offered in a tech-focused MBA program. Now, our students, when they take this program in the MBA, are taking 9 credits as part of the core. And then the next, 18 credits as part of the core, 9 in the first semester, 9 in the second semester. And then in the third semester, they choose one of 4 concentrations that we have. And then in the fourth semester, they'll choose a second one. So our program is unique. We offer our students, the value we wanted to give our students is an opportunity to get 2 concentrations as opposed to just taking 1 concentration. So usually you hear students saying, I have an MBA in finance. Our students will say, I have an MBA in finance and marketing. I have an MBA in finance and entrepreneurship. And I'll scroll down to the next page so you can see the concentrations that we have in this program. So you'll see information systems is one of our concentrations. And again, students only have to choose 3 courses out of these concentrations. So if you're pursuing the MBA, you've got a choice. You could do a concentration in MIS and finance, or you could do a concentration in finance and marketing, or you could do a concentration in finance and entrepreneurship. And there's another feature here, down at the bottom here, that we call the custom concentration, which is quite unique. Our students could choose the custom concentration instead. And the custom concentration allows you to take 3 graduate level courses from anywhere across the university. So if you were interested in a degree, in a concentration in courses that are offered by the architecture school, you can apply those towards your MBA. If the courses that you saw that are offered in the engineering school that you were very interested in, perhaps aligned with what you want to do in your career, you can apply those towards a custom concentration. And you don't have to take them all in one cluster. So you can have 1 course from architecture, 1 course from computing school, 1 course from engineering. You might even choose to take a course out of the MSM if you find that there's a course that you like that is not part of the MBA. So that allows a great deal of flexibility for students. And that's one feature that students really like, particularly students who want to see how they can leverage their background and the skills they brought with them when they came from home. So that's the curriculum in both of these programs. Let me see if I can get back to the presentation without having to Can you still see my screen?
Yes, we see the MSM course curriculum.
Okay, good. All right. So we talked a little bit about the MBA. Again, it is a nationally ranked program, STEM designated, so there is no confusion about whether you would be able to be eligible for the 3-year OPT. And we did a couple of things with it when we revised it. We reduced it from a 48 credit program. We emphasized a much more technology-focused curriculum. And then we applied for and got the STEM designation for the program. When we shortened the program, it immediately became much more attractive to both domestic students and international students. Of course, you want to get in and finish. The 48 credit programs tend to be much longer. The MBA can be completed in 4 semesters for a student. The MSM can be completed in 2 semesters. Sometimes students take 3 semesters because they want to take a little bit of a break and do an internship during the summer. And this is sort of an example of some of the employers that our graduates have come through. And this is not even an exhaustive list. We would if we updated it, you'd see a much longer list of employers that recruit our students. We've got students who are hired at Johnson & Johnson, Prudential. Prudential actually has headquarters here in Newark, very close to us here. Verizon, Bank of America. You can see these are all large business companies that are either in technology, in high technology or finance. Some of them are pharmaceutical companies. The list continues here. This is where a lot of our alumni work, and you'll see. This is again just a sample of listing, so it's not a comprehensive list.
Dr. Ben, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you really quickly. I think we're still seeing your old screen up, the MSM.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
I apologize.
No worries.
For some reason, let me do this. Then let me. Thank you for letting me know because I didn't realize
not at all.
I was moving along.
As we're, as Dr. Ben sort of comes back with his presentation, if there's any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box. I know a lot of questions are being handled by Dr. Marietta and Ritchie and Hassel. So thank you so much for keeping an eye on the Q&A box.
Sure.
But just a quick reminder that now is the time to ask those questions. But over to you, Dr. Ben.
Okay, so you didn't see the screen before. Okay. Oh, my apologies. So yeah, so this was just an example of the companies that our students get hired by, and you'll see that most of them are actually high technology companies. Some of them are pharmaceutical companies. Some of them are telecom companies, banking institutions, and that's just an example of them. And this is actually from a LinkedIn analysis that pulled from 2,500 alumni. You'll see again a continuation of a list of the companies that typically recruit here. When we do have the career fairs, there are usually 200 plus companies that come to recruit on campus. And as you might imagine, the lines for students are around the corner because they're all wanting to make an impression. So they're recruiting engineering students, they're recruiting business students, they're recruiting computing students. It's actually quite a lively day because you see employers sometimes coming in with contracts in hand because they want to recruit quite aggressively. So these are just examples of some of the companies that our students will work in, and people that recruit, the companies that recruit our students. I'll talk a little bit about the admissions requirements. Ritchie shared about his journey and how quickly it happened. His experience is quite unique, and I think a lot of that is due to Marietta's amazing team who really processed it very quickly, given the closeness we were to the beginning of the semester. So for everyone who's attending tonight, because you signed up, GradRight will have collected your contact information. We will waive the application fee for all of you who are participating in this presentation tonight. So the application process is straightforward. You just go to the NJIT website, click on Apply Now. You can follow the prompts and reach the part where international students can apply and begin the application. The portal is very friendly. There's not much complicated about it. It's a pretty straightforward portal. You can stop and come back again. You don't have to finish everything in one sweep. And you can start uploading some of the documents that we require our students to submit. So the application fee will waive because you've attended this session with us here. A personal statement is usually very good because it gives us an idea about who you are and what your ambitions are, what you're expecting to get out of this program. Now, you have to have earned a bachelor's degree, and this is an important piece because I think sometimes students misunderstand this. It must be what they call a 4-year US equivalency. In other words, wherever you've studied, because we've got students who finish their degrees in 3 years, But when the degree is evaluated, it's actually assessed as the equivalent of a 4-year degree in the United States. So we do accept students who finish their degrees in 3-year institutions. But it's important that students understand this, that your degree has to be evaluated to be by one of many evaluating agencies and determined to be the equivalent of a bachelor's degree in the United States. Now, the TOEFL, IELTS, the Duolingo test scores are mandatory for all international students. Even if you went to school in India and in an English-speaking school, it's required for all international students. And to date, I have not seen any students who've been educated formally in an English setting having a hard time with completing those tests. The minimum scores for the TOEFL are 79. If you're doing the internet-based one, it's 550 for the paper-based one, and for the computer-based one is 213. The IELTS score is 6.5, and the Duolingo is 120. Now, let's talk a little bit about GMATs, because that's another one that's a requirement in business schools. We require that students have a GMAT score of 500 or the equivalent in the GRE. We do have the opportunity to waive GMATs for applicants who are coming in, and that's usually if they've got a transcript that has been evaluated and indicates that their degree has a GPA of the equivalent of 2.8 and above in the United States. So it's important that I emphasize this, because sometimes students will say, well, I have a GPA that was 3.7 from my university. The scale is different from other parts of the world. So it has to be sort of assessed as part of what WES would do, is that they assess the degree and they'll send us a transcript, an evaluation of it that says this student's transcript is the equivalent of a US-based degree, and the GPA is da 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 da. I hope that's clear. And if it's not clear, I'm more than happy to get a little bit more detail in explaining that. I think that's about it in terms of what we'll be talking about with regards to the admissions process. On this page here, if you want to, you can take a screenshot of this. These are our contact information here. Oya Tukel is the dean here. You have my contact information here. You can always reach me if you have any questions. Your advisor, if you're going to go do the MBA, is Tamisha Adams. If you're going to do the MSM, is Noel Conforti. And Carly Hickey is a person in the admissions department that would be perhaps reaching out to you and connecting with you. That sort of ends my piece of the presentation, and I don't want to take up too much time. If there are some questions that students would want to raise, we'll also give Marietta a chance to talk a little bit about some detail about the process for international students.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Ben, for that. There's so many questions that have been coming in the Q&A box. And I know now in the last 20 minutes, we'll try and take many, many more live. But I know, Dr. Marietta, we've had so many questions coming around the spring deadline as well. And you've answered some that, applications are in fact open for spring 24. Is that for both programs? And if so, by when should students think about applying?
Thank you so much. And yes, the application is absolutely open still for both programs. We are currently accepting applications and issuing I-20s for the spring semester intake, our spring semester starts January 16th. So we still have enough time for students to get their applications together and send them in. One thing I would mention in terms of the I-20 processing, as soon as students receive the application, the acceptance from the admissions office, they will receive an email with instructions on how to pay their required deposit and then how to follow the steps to request an I-20. We process I-20s within 24 hours usually, although our emails say, 3 to 5 business days or more. We try to process them, if not the same day, next day, but within 24 to 48 hours at most, depending on the load. The faster students get their I-20, the faster they're able to schedule their visa appointments, and the higher the likelihood of getting an appointment before the program start date and being successful with that. So we encourage students to act quickly. The biggest part of the I-20 application process is submitting financial documents, and usually that's where we have a lot of back and forth. So I encourage students to pay close attention to the instructions that are included in the I-20 request form with the required minimum for the I-20 issuance. so that we can speed up the process. But as soon as they submit their documents and the submission is complete, we issue the I-20s.
Fantastic. Wow. I have one question that I'd love to take to you, Dr. Ben. It's a question that we've received 2 or 3 times in the Q&A box, and it's around scholarships and sort of funding yourself, at NJIT for, especially for business school at Tuchman. And I'd love for you to take that. Are there scholarships that international students, especially students from India, can think about applying to at Tuchman? And, sort of a flip side to that is also some questions and comments I saw around ROI, what is the ROI of choosing Tuchman for business school for an international student, especially? If you could take those 2 questions from our students. Dr. Ben, sorry, you're on mute.
The question on scholarships, the university does not have many scholarships that are set aside for master's level students. In fact, the majority of the scholarships are usually awarded to either doctoral students and, of course, a good number of undergrad students who are coming in. One of the reasons why we were delighted about this partnership with GradRight is when I first met with one of the co-founders and we learned about what GradRight was doing. We immediately realized that this is perhaps one of the best ways that our students who are seeking to come out here might find opportunities to be able to afford to come and pursue their education here with us. There are limited scholarships that are available for students, but usually those are scholarships that have either awarded once you've arrived here and you've got a GPA, and even then they're not really significant scholarships as would put a dent on what you owe in terms of your tuition. It's one of the reasons why we think, as I said, GradRight has found a solution, at least in terms of how to make this education affordable and accessible to students who want to come and study here. The question on ROI is a very good question. In fact, I think what we've seen based on the students who've come through here and the alumni we speak to, and even as the rankings suggest, when we see what earning a degree at NJIT does for the students in terms of their earning capabilities, you take a look and you see students who've come through, who've taken loans, have actually been able to find jobs that enable them to pay those loans off sometimes as soon as 2 or 3 years into the job. Sometimes even sooner, depending on how much money that they raised. But beyond that, it's also the confidence that lenders find in the student profiles, because I think your employability plays a factor in how the lenders would consider funding your loan. So for students who are coming out here to pursue a degree, the investment you're making is not one where you're sort of hoping that something will work out for you. We've yet to see a student who's come through here who's not found themselves into an attractive position that actually gave them a good opportunity to earn. And most students look back and say, part of the reason why our Wall Street Journal ranking was so high was because they actually sampled students and they spoke to alumni. And they said, this degree prepared me better than anything else could have done to be the engineer that I am, to be the manager that I am, to be the computer programmer that I am, to be whatever it is I've done. And so, I think that's part of the reason why even the #1 ranking comes in. It addresses that, because an upward mobility, students who come in make their way up the ladder fairly quickly as a result of the training and the preparation they've had when they come through here. So I hope that answers those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Dr. Marietta, I'd love to get you in on that. Dr. Ben talked a little bit about sort of, ROI, and he also talked in his presentation around, sort of a STEM designation, right, for these degrees and what advantage that offers international students. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience, especially with students from India, as they sort of, once they think about moving on after Tuchman, what kinds of opportunities open up for them with a STEM, a designated sort of business degree, a degree that sort of combines both business and sort of tech?
Absolutely. I think one of the best options for students, and students at NJIT are very successful, as Dr. Ben mentioned, securing job opportunities after graduation. Many of our students engage in curricular practical training, which is the internships or co-op experiences. So for those who have longer programs than 1 academic year, meaning fall and spring semesters, are eligible to apply for curricular practical training or co-op or internship. And that really allows them to, one, gain experience in their major and field of study, but two, develop networking and develop relationships with employers, and also allows them the opportunity to secure employment after graduation. So many of our students, upon graduation, they already have an employer offer letter, so for placement, and that's leads us to the other opportunity for the optional practical training. So we mentioned at the beginning that all students, regardless of their major, are eligible for the first 12 months of optional practical training, but those in the STEM fields are eligible for another 24-month extension after completion the first 12 months. So that leads to 3 years of experience. They still stay on their F1 visa. NJIT still maintains their I-20s and their CVIS records, and they are eligible to be employed anywhere in the US in their field of study. So that's a tremendous opportunity to gain that experience. Even if their career takes them anywhere around the world or back to their home country, they have that 3-year experience under their belt and opportunity to build up their resume.
Yeah, and I think, Ritchie, I'd love to bring you in on this as well. As you thought about going back to school, right? You'd already had really successful entrepreneurial stints. You were doing really well for yourself already in India. What was it that drove you to go back to business school? And specifically, what was it that made you choose the MSM at Tuchman for sort of, the next step in your career?
So after my undergraduation, I've done my enough entrepreneurial experience, and it's still going on in India. So I wanted to because in I don't know if it's known, but previously there was no such widely STEM programs in America. So it was like America is only for techs. It's only for IT. So when I came through NJIT's STEM management program, so that's the point which got attracted to me, like which I got attracted, because it gives me OPT, it gives me a leverage to cover in STEM. At the same time, my heart is in management, so that's where I got close. Otherwise, if it's just management and it doesn't have any STEM or OPT, so I might not have gone for it. Since there is STEM, so I saw a future in it. And then I didn't had any second thought to not discard this offer.
Yeah, I think that's something that's, a lot of as students think about, coming to school, they're also thinking about, okay, what next once I graduate? But, let's talk a little bit about that whole process, Ritchie. I want to hear about your first day at Tuchman. What was that like? Was it sort of a big shock to sort of enter, sort of an American classroom? How did you decide sort of, what to wear, what to bring with you? Tell us a little bit about that process.
So I just got a mail that there's a meeting because I missed my orientation. So I was a bit disappointed, but still I wrote a mail to my director that I'm not able to attend. And he replied me back saying, "Congratulations, Ritchie, on your F1 visa, and you can come down at my cabin." So I felt very confident. I didn't feel like I'm left out. So I attended the event. It was a networking session in the first time where you introduce your fellow friends, different departments, different professors, the global initiatives team members. And then I saw my department. I felt very happy and delighted. So I saw it's all the labs, and there's a very nice library right before in the downstairs, in the ground floor of my building. And there is the surprising part is we have a Bloomberg terminal which is free. Any student can sign up and do a course with Bloomberg terminal. So and then I went, and after that, within few days, I went to my first class. That was management accounting, and everything is nice. It is more like an interactive thing. More like real-time examples. So it gives you a perspective of global real-time touch. It's not more about theoretical, just where you give presentations. It's more about connectivity to the present scenario. And I also like the like, I don't know, it's hectic, but there's a learning management system called Canvas. So it's like a friend to you, all your graduation, post graduation. So every update, so everything is documented digitally. So your upcoming assignments, your upcoming quiz, if there's any homework, if there's any project teams, so everything is communicated in an awesome way through Canvas. Yeah, so far it's all nice. It's going good.
Cool. And Dr. Ben, I know you have a fascinating story of the first time that you met Ritchie as a student at Tuchman. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So yeah, so Ritchie, we first heard from him, of course, through grad, right? And fortunately, we were able to move very quickly. Our colleagues, Marietta and her crew, were able to get him through. But then he turned up, and the day he turned up in a suit. I mean, he dressed the role. I mean, he came in like a businessman, like an executive. So immediately, I greeted him. I took him around to meet my colleagues, the dean, and everybody else. I said, "This is the kind of student we're recruiting here." But anyway, so what I learned very quickly about him is that he has the kind of tenacity we look for in students, right? He's tenacious. He doesn't give up. He's open-minded. He tries new things. And so, it's very easy to get caught up in listening to what your friends have said. And sometimes your friends might mislead you unknowingly. But I think what he does is that he's open-minded. He says, I'm going to get out there. And I must say this, because I think it's important for anyone who's sitting in this meeting today. One of the things that Ritchie did is that he went and knocked door to door to door to explain that he's available to work on campus. And he should tell you, he can talk a little bit about his the way he got hired. It was not because he had seen a specific position somewhere. He saw an opportunity to go and knock and introduce himself, and right there and then he was hired. Those are the kind of things that we find prepare our students. So for those students who don't have that yet, those are the tools that they pick up when they come through here. I should actually add this before Ritchie speaks, that one of the things we hear from employers consistently is that we want to have students who, it's one thing to have straight A's, that's good. But what we want to see is a student who has grit, who's got drive, who can communicate well, who can land and figure out how to navigate the space in our organization and belong. And so those are skills that we think prepare students very well. And we hear often from students who are finishing engineering degrees here or have graduated already, who come back to get a master's degree in business. And they'll say, my challenge has been, my employer only sees me for my technical background. And yet I want to get involved in strategic decisions. I want to be involved in management roles. And so that's what happens when they come to pursue this degree with us here. And but yeah, so Ritchie, please share really quickly about what you did, because there is a portal where you can apply for jobs, which he did, but he also didn't stop there. He just went around and went meeting people. And you can share that briefly with Ritchie, if you can, for the benefit of those who don't know what you did.
Thank you, Ben. So what happened was I was speaking to multiple people, the information desk, and many friends or seniors. So many were like, "Oh, in our college, the first semester, guys, it's very hard." So everyone were following a traditional approach. So there's a portal called Cornerstone, which is empaneled with NJIT dashboard. So here is, you have to explore your open jobs, and then you have to apply through Cornerstone. So what I did, actually, I took printouts of my resumes. I carried in my bag, and I was, irrespective of class, I never had classes at that time. So every day I used to get on a Newark Broad station. I used to walk to the campus. So I used to check the openings, and I used to try to meet the people face to face. I used to go to the departments, knock the door, and introduce myself and talk about my previous experiences and skills. And I faced rejections because of this. They almost filled, they almost hired, but still I didn't give up. And what I believe is, so every story shifts rapidly. There's no like a proper straight line. So sometimes the opportunity is right there before you, but you might feel formal and you might lose it. So while coming, I met the strategic events department. So they really liked my profile. So the person who is in gourmet dining, And then, but still, again, I missed meetings, and I'm still going in. And then one of the department, they wrote me on the sticky note to meet Mr. Josiah at the NJIT NJIT Strategic Events and Conferences Service Department. And then I went there and I just introduced myself with all my skills and all my experiences. Right there, they have asked me to submit all my details. And then I filled the form, and then they sent me an interview link. And the next day I was interviewed, and I got the mail after some time that I was hired. So what I believe is every story is unique, and you should believe in your task, and then the opportunity might come. So you should always think like positively. So that's where I landed up.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think there's so many lessons in there, for students coming in from India. It's really all about the opportunities that you're sort of making and creating for yourself once you're there. Going out there, networking, putting yourself out there, sort of sharing your own story, what your unique sort of perspective is as an international student. Lots and lots to learn there. Fantastic, and thank you so much for sharing that, Ritchie. We're almost towards the end of our time here. I feel like we always run out of time at these events. So many questions have been answered so kindly and so quickly by Dr. Marietta, Ritchie, and Hassel in the Q&A box. But there is one question coming in, Dr. Ben. I'd love to take it to you towards the end. We talked a little bit about the Tech MBA and the MS Management, and you talked a little bit about the kinds of employers that Tuchman sees. A student asking in the Q&A box, what kind of jobs are really available in terms of titles, in terms of, just real kinds of jobs available for students, especially that are graduates of the Tech MBA and the MSM?
Oh, that's a very good question, and I think you'll find that varies, of course, from industry to industry. But typically, what you'll find is employers are looking for students who have the ability to not just describe or use whatever technical skills they have, but how they apply those to solving solutions. So it's not unusual to find students who are being hired as analysts, either in the financial industry, business analysts, people that are data analysts, data engineers even, and data scientists. So it's a wide range of careers, and some of those positions may not necessarily be labeled as such. But what you'll find is that the tasks that people are assigned to do are drawing from the experience that they've had with the combined their business savvy and their technical background. I should also add, by the way, and I think it's something that is important. One of the things that students benefit from being at NJIT, if you are creative or you've had an engineering background and you're good at creating and developing things, there's a resource here called Makerspace, which allows students who have ideas about developing things to come and actually try out their skills. There's also an opportunity if you've got an entrepreneurial background to see how you might be able to team up with people that are doing exciting entrepreneurial things, and in some cases even enter these competitions where you might be able to pitch for an investor who may be interested in your work. So it's a combination of my message to students all the time is, when you come here, if we've admitted you, it was not by mistake. We admitted you because we believe you belong here, and so we want you to take advantage of everything that's available here. So don't come and stay in the dorm or stay in the house and do nothing else. Get out there. New York City is literally a 15-minute train ride from here, and there's so much to do. And the sooner you adjust yourself and take it all in, the better it is for you, because that's when you find opportunities. Most of the times, merit alone is not going to get you there. Merit is big, but it's not the only thing that will get you there. It's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. That Ritchie, the example that Ritchie just gave here, where you say, "This is what I have. I'm sure you can put me to use." And so that's hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, okay. And we're almost completely out of time. But before we go, I do have one super quick question for all three of you. We like to end on this kind of note usually. And I'm going to take it to you, Ritchie, first. What is one thing that has surprised you since you've been at NJIT? Maybe one thing that you weren't expecting, one thing that you think other Indian students should look out for if they come?
So basically, the thing which which I like here is the events which are happening. So they're all like collaborative. It's not being restricted. So this thing, because in India there will be annual fests, so which happens annually. But here at NJIT, you can check the events which it directly come to your mail, and you can participate in irrespective of anything. If you like coding, you can go to a coding event. If you like to go learn entrepreneurship course, you can go to the entrepreneurship course. If there's an event in free course in Makerspace, you can go to Makerspace. So there's no limit. So there's no one restricting you to be in your department. If you want to learn something about startups, you can go to VentureLink. So if there's any event happening at VentureLink, you can go to VentureLink. So that point which collaborates everyone is what I like. If there's a resume day, everyone can come. Undergrads, graduates. If there's a career fair, everyone can come. So there's no limit, and there is no restriction for events. You're open to any event. So this part,
lots of events on campus, lots of sort of ways to upskill, network, and just have some fun as well outside of the classroom. Thanks, Ritchie. Dr. Marietta, I'm going to take it to you as well. What is one thing about NJIT or Tuchman that you think a student from India should really think about, as they think about applying?
Absolutely. I think one thing is that all staff and faculty at NJIT are very caring for international students specifically, and especially Martin Tuchman, starting from the dean, everyone through Dr. Ben and the academic advisors have such a positive attitude and such a we can do attitude, but also caring for students attitude. That they really take good care of their students and make sure that they're successful there. No matter what the challenges are, whether it's academic, financial, personal, we all work together to make sure that students have a successful and engaging time at NJIT.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think, that can be such a source of comfort for students who think about sort of traveling so far away. And as Dr. Ben was saying, both of you, as former international students yourself, have been through that journey and realize that importance of having a community that you go into that's looking out for you personally, looking out for you, sort of supporting you academically, looking out for you as you think about moving on, after graduation. So a great community from faculty to staff at NJIT. Dr. Ben, I've got to give you the last word. What's the one thing about NJIT or Tuchman, if you can limit yourself to one thing alone, that you really think would appeal to Indian students? One thing,
Priyanka, this is torture. But the one thing I think is probably just an extension of what Marietta said. The students are hungry. They come here, they are seeking opportunity. And what they find is a team of people that want them to see them succeeding. So it's a vibrant environment. If you don't take advantage of what's available to you here, it's a shame, because there's so much you can do. As you heard from Ritchie, the access is there. And what you'll find even in the way that we teach, we want you to get engaged. It's not cram for an exam and regurgitate it. We want you to apply what you're learning. We want you to see how it allows you to bring yourself out. So if you don't take advantage of that, I'll be very disappointed. Other than that, I look forward to seeing applications. And for everyone who's joined us tonight, application fees are going to be waived. And we look forward to welcoming you to NJIT in the spring.
All right, you don't want to disappoint Dr. Ben. Make sure that you apply on time so that Dr. Marietta and her team can get you up and ready, and you can go and meet Ritchie as early as this January. Have go on events with him around campus. I'm sure he'll be happy to host as many of our grad right students as he possibly can. Thank you all so much. All three of you bring in completely different perspectives, very unique views on NJIT. We really appreciate all of the time that you took on this Monday morning to share with our grad right student community. Thank you, as always, Dr. Ben. We really appreciate the time and effort that you put in to share some of the knowledge, around this with our community. Ritchie, Dr. Marietta, we appreciate all of your time, your insights. Thank you all for folks that joined us and stayed with us for the full hour. And remember, you've got application fee waivers in case you're thinking about applying to Tuchman, especially for spring. All the details that should be available in case you need. Feel free to write write into us, you can write into my colleague Hasil, Hasil @gradright.com for any and all information around Tuchman, around NJIT, the application fees waiver in case you want to apply. If you need information on the deadlines, anything else like that, please feel free to write in. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening if you're here in India, and a wonderful, wonderful morning and start to your week if you're joining us from New Jersey. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.
Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, Ben.